End of the commission will receive public comment as regards a proposed renovation of an existing house located at 9 Rossman Avenue. Who's here to speak for 9 Rossman this morning?
The clients and I.
Terrific.
And the neighbors.
And your neighbor's terrific. Okay, so you guys take it over and present as if you would to the commission, go through your plans, any background. If you want to draw on folks to speak about the project, your neighbors, bring them into when appropriate. But for now, you guys start the meeting, please.
Yeah, I'll try not to bring in this, although there's going here. So my name is Yaniv, and this is Ovid, my wife. We're here at 9 Rossman. We bought a house in January 2020. We promised its previously to take good care of it. The plan at the time was to apply a coat of paint, renew the roof, get some furniture, move in summer. And instead, the pandemic hit, and we moved shortly after the closing in early March of 2020. So soon after we arrived, we got bring news that Lloyd has Parkinson's disease. It's progressing slowly and affecting mobility, and we're doing everything we can to fit. It manifests itself significantly in walking and particularly going up and down stairs in this house. We've had a couple of spills already. We want to be able to, for the long run, and essentially are requesting to make the house more accessible. Like parents who want to see their children often as possible, so turning the basement into an inviting piano room. She is a classical pianist, and we want to see her. So, you know, as you can, we're surrounded new friends and neighbors. It's hard to make friends. Pandemic, and here we are surrounded by people who support us. So that's it. Thank you all for coming out and looking at this request, and very much appreciate the guidance of the committee.
No, I just want to say that it's unfortunate that this is things happen, but that's the way life is. And Katie goes through the details.
Okay, great. I'll share my screen. Can everyone see this?
Yes.
Are you
Yeah.
seeing the proposal? Okay, great. All right, so this is a photograph of the house, and we'll show you more photographs.
We're looking at your email.
You're looking at what?
Looking at your email. If that's what you intended.
Oh, no, it's here. Share screen. Is this, are we seeing this? The
Yes.
photograph
Yes.
of the house and,
You're good. That's the cover.
okay, great, thank you. All right, so what we are seeking permission to do is create a safe vertical accessibility to a Dutch colonial home. It's from 1898. And we have an addition on the south side of the home that has an elevator, a vestibule at grade, and a stair that we've extended to meet code. Right now, the running height is much too short, and the treads are very steep and difficult to manage. On the lower level, we'd like to create an extension. This would include a bedroom and bathroom and music room. And this is all currently planned to be under the existing stair. So we're not moving out of the envelope of what's existing on the property in the back. We'd also like to move the existing door from the front elevation to the side. And I can show you that more as we go through the plans. Having added this addition to the left or to the south, it really has sort of changed the center of gravity of the front elevation. And I can show you how moving this door will create a much better flow and balance to the house. We are replacing windows. Pretty much almost every window will be replaced, and they will either be in kind in their existing location, and in the drawings I've shown which ones are actually new, and we can go over that in more specifics. And then the last thing we're asking for are some actually totally new windows in the building, and we'll explain
Okay.
where those are. So these
It
are
certainly
these,
is. Yep.
um,
All right. Thanks. You
Can,
bet. Bye.
can someone mute? We're hearing someone's phone call. These are existing photographs. This is the top three are definitely things you could see. Well, the middle one you'd have to be on the neighbor's lawn to see, but you can see from Rossman Avenue. And then we're coming down around the side, south side of the house. You can see what that looks like now. And then the rear elevation, the existing porch. And this is the porch we're intending to build out underneath. There will still be a porch at the top, but it'll be rebuilt with safer railings, and we can show you images of that. And then the north side, we want to just show you the existing bay window, which we are leaving. There isn't too much happening on that side. Here is where the house is on Rossman Avenue, where this circle is up on the right-hand side. And then we have the full site plan on the left, showing the full property and the setbacks. That the shaded part shows the setback. And then we've enlarged that a little bit for you to see sort of where we are building. And we've tried to keep everything behind, every new thing behind, within, obviously, the existing setback. The setback was obviously made after these houses were built, because this house aligns with most of the other houses, and the setback is further. Let me see, next one. So this is the front elevation, and this red dotted line shows more or less everything to the right is the current house, and everything to the left is our addition. This middle portion in here without the windows, that's the elevator. Behind that will be this extended staircase, and we can show you later on, there's some perspective drawings that explain the volume a little better. And this would be a vestibule at grade, so that you could, in the future, enter through here in a wheelchair and be able to enter the elevator, and then give you access to all three levels of the house. Oh, and the other thing I just wanted to mention was, every time there's a little asterisk, what we're basically saying is we're replacing all the windows, and then anything that's kind of special, we have a little asterisk there. So this is where the current front door is, and we're proposing to put it into this area, and I'll explain that a little bit later. So this is the south addition, or the south elevation, sorry, and it shows the little vestibule for entering, and it shows the stairwell. These would be the stair landings would happen in here, and this is the elevator. We've gone to a great effort to break down this volume. As you know, there weren't many residential elevators at the time this house was built. So finding a way to sort of break the volume down and make it feel in keeping with the current house is what our goal was. So, and then here you start to see where the existing pergola and porch are. This is on the first floor porch, and then below where we'd like to build out this bedroom and music room. And let's see, next one, going around. So this is the view from the back. We're basically mimicking as much of the detail. We haven't drawn everything on here perfectly, but as much of the detail and window casings and trim and siding as possible in this new addition on all 3 sides, even if you wouldn't from Rossman Avenue anyway, see the back of this, but we wanted this to feel like an integrated form that is part of this house. And this shows the porch and the covered portion, the open portion, and then the rooms facing the backyard. Let's see. Okay, and then this is the north side. We aren't doing too much to this elevation that you can see. There are some, the replaced windows, but it does show where we are asking to move the front door to this area, and it actually shows better, I think, in this next image. So this is a view as if you were walking up Rossman Avenue. This little inset is to show that we are keeping the existing railings in the front. They were a little hard to model, so we're just putting a photograph of what the existing railings are and saying we're leaving that. And there are trees quite large close to here. And so we do get a little bit of a glimpse of what's going on back there, but not really too much. So mostly what we're seeing from Rossman Avenue is this, and we'll show you a few more. I also wanted to make it clear that what we are trying to do would be to move this entire piece, the actual pieces, the door itself, the side lights and the molding and anything that we need to restore, we would have rebuilt to look exactly like this. And we would just place it on the side here. So let's see, I come around the other side as if this is like on Rossman Avenue, but coming more down the hill toward it, which would show the addition of the elevator and the extended elongated stair. And here I wanted to sort of explain, this is maybe a little small, I think I could zoom in a little bit, but to explain how once we have this addition to the side, we have sort of moved the center of this a little bit. And so we feel that it would be appropriate, we hope you agree, to create a center entry hall. This used to be a library, and having the elevator access through it somewhat ruins the use of it as a library. It is a great convenience to Orit and to everyone actually to be able to come in, sit down, take off your boots, that sort of thing, and have a space that is really used by both and as an entry space. And I think it's quite in keeping that this stair, which has now been moved a little to the left, is sort of in line with how a center entry would work. So before the door was right here. So that's sort of our explanation of one, why it would be a great utility for use, but also seems, to be in keeping with the style of the house, especially now that we've got this elongated portion. And then here we just wanted to show that we are using things that would be in keeping with the style of the house in the front here. And let me go around the back. So in the back, like I said, we are continuing all the detailing that we would have in the front portion and creating this back vestibule to this whole stair area. And then this addition with a simplified railing in the background that would be very light, very unobtrusive. I think what we're asking to do here is relatively modest. And so we would like to, maintain the view and keep things quiet in the back here is our intention. And I believe that's the whole set. So I think we could go to comments if that's what Phil thinks is the next thing.
Katie, you had, I understand that there's some neighbors who are with you. I do want to open the comment period, but I'd like an opportunity for your neighbors to speak if they wish.
I wish to speak.
We'd like to speak also.
Go ahead then. Who spoke first? Aji?
She spoke first.
I'm not shocked. Go ahead, please.
So, yes, I'm actually excited about this. This is really almost just about all the changes are facing me. I am going to see the extension of the elevator, the stair, part of the stair. Anyway, I am just so impressed with how they planned this and how beautifully it actually makes the house look better. I looked at the drawings before, and you come down on Rossman Avenue and you're going to see this house, and it looks like an 1890 house, but it is more, what is the word? Not majestic, but I can't think of the right word. Anyway, I think they did a gorgeous job, and I'm excited about it.
Thank you. Who else wanted to speak as a neighbor?
We'd like to speak.
Please.
Can you see us?
Yes.
So we are next door neighbors. This is John. I'm Sharon Javna. And we are next door neighbors just down the hill.
North.
We have also an historic house, and preserving the historic nature of the street is important to us. Orit and Yaniv's plans, we feel, respect the historic nature of the neighborhood, but they're also making, I think, aesthetic improvements to the house.
That's right.
We particularly like the new front door, the placement of it. We walk up the street, we take a walk every day toward the cemetery, and so we can see the house sooner with this door replacement, and we get a lovely new perspective. It's really nice to see all the improvements on Rossman Avenue, which there are several, and this would certainly be one of them. We're also, like Aji, quite excited to see these improvements.
Terrific. Thank you very much. So the mic's on and the floor is open for other folks to move forward with a period of public comment. I can't see the screen very well. If everybody's just courteous and keeps an eye on who's talking, other folks, please come in and speak, state your views.
Would you like me to stop sharing so people's faces are bigger? Is that?
That would be great.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank
I
you.
would like to say something.
Sure.
My name is, if I may, my name is Victor Bloom. This is Donna Hortis. We're very close friends of Yaniv and Orit's, and we already residents of Hudson helped them find the house and went through a long process with them looking. And we know that they care deeply about the environment of Hudson, wanting to fit in, wanting to aesthetically fit in, and in every way have a positive attitude about Hudson. And I know that they've very, very carefully considered all of these elements. And
Oh,
there's nothing
you raised
quick,
your digital
slapdash
hand.
or-
What's
Hello?
going on?
I'm sorry, someone just, please keep on going. Somebody just jumped in.
Well, just in summation, that it's a very, very carefully thought through proposal that not only suits their own personal needs, but also the neighbors and the community, and which I know they care deeply about. That's essentially what I wanted to say.
Thank you very much. My vision is not brilliant. Would somebody either raise their hand or who else wanted to speak? Other folks?
Christabel Goff.
Go ahead, Christabel.
Okay, thank you. This is Christabel Goff. I'm not a neighbor. I live on Union Street in the Valley. I wanted to say you have an absolutely beautiful house here and a lovely neighborhood. And I actually have lived through the problem that you are facing when my father became ill and we were living in an historic house. And so I would like to share with you some of my thoughts. We installed a small interior elevator, and there are many companies who are producing such products. Many people need them. They can have transparent walls, they can be cut in, and we found that that was a wonderful solution to our problem. And I think that the proposed alterations are being driven by interior changes that I would really suggest that you pause and reimagine what you could do here. Before building this rather massive external elevator tower, consider an internal solution. There are many companies offering small home lifts. You can Google small home elevators and you will see numerous possibilities. They disrupt your interior decoration that much, and they can be cut in with a minimum of disruption. It's a really wonderful possibility of modern life. I think that when this house was built, which was, I believe, 1898 in Paris, elevators were something new, and this type of elevator was pioneered there. I remember, being that I'm 83, in the 1950s in Paris, and can be decorated like the house.
Should they look into it?
So it really, adding an interior elevator can make an illness into something that's much easier to live with. Also, I would question, I mean, if you don't build the stair tower, you may want to look at what you're doing in the interior again. And I do feel personally that moving the front door does disrupt the original design of the house. As it's presently designed, it aligns with the central dormer. And that's a very balanced and harmonious front facade. And it's quite lovely. And I think that you should really reconsider your interior plan. I know you've come a long way with your plan, which is an alternative, but from the standpoint of preservation, if you want to keep this wonderful house looking much more the way it does, that there are other ways to approach it. And I really plead with you to think about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Christabel. Who else has a hand up or wishes to speak? Going once, going twice. If there's no one else from the public wishing to speak, I would ask for, pardon?
Hello? Hello?
Yes, who's speaking?
Yeah, this is Ronald Kopnicki. I'd raised my hand on behalf of Matt McGee, who would like to speak.
Thanks, Ronald.
Go ahead.
Yes, I'm rather smitten by Dutch houses. I am of Dutch descent, and they mean something to me, maybe that other people don't feel. When I was a child in Kentucky, we lived in a house that was built in the Dutch style, and we had the front door was divided in half, and the top could open separately to the bottom. And, it's all something from my past, and it means something, to see things that relate to my ancestry, my history. And I would love to see this house maintain the look of a real Dutch house as much as it does now, by having the front door left where it should be. I'm don't know of any house that in its original design would have been laid out like this. And it would really damage the pleasing presentation that it gives to the public and to people who have a particular tie to this kind of architecture. And I would appreciate seeing it preserved. Thank you.
Hi, Phil, you're muted.
Are there other folks who wish to speak? If not, may I have a motion to close the public hearing, and we'll move on to regular order of business. Hugh? Big motion, may I have a second, please? Commission, I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed on the commission? None. Motion is passed. We'll enter the regular order of business. In the regular order of business, the first act is to review the draft minutes from the meeting of February 11th. Those did go out, but commissioners, if you need more time, take the time. If everyone's okay and has had the opportunity, may I have a motion to approve the minutes as prepared by our colleague Rebecca? Hugh has his hand up. And would someone second, please? Thanks very much, Chip. All in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? The minutes are approved once again, and as always, thank you so much, Rebecca. We're entering the rest of our regular order of business, and the first items up are voting on certificates of appropriateness. First certificate is prepared by the city attorney is City Hall ADA upgrade. May I have a motion to approve the C of A?
I'll make that motion. This is Jeremy.
City Hall. Thank you so much, Jeremy. And a second, please.
Second.
Thanks so much, Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? There are none. City Hall ADA upgrade C of A is approved. Second item is number 6 Willard Place. May I have a motion to approve the certificate as prepared by the city attorney for 6 Willard Place?
I'll move it.
Thank you very much, John. And a second, please.
Second.
Hugh, thank you very much. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. The C of A for 6 Willard Place is approved. Next segment is to review certificate of appropriateness applications. Let me go through this real quick because folks have pointed out with fair justice that we didn't catch everybody in the last meeting, which was quite a long meeting. Let me call out what we have on the agenda. And if we miss somebody, let's address it now. In this order, roughly 9 Rossman Avenue, which I know are here, so no problem. We will take that up. 29.5 Union Street, 35 South 6th Street, Hudson Connects, and I believe James is here, and I also believe I owe James an apology. We'd meant to have you in the last review, and we missed that, so I'm sorry about that. We don't usually do that, but we did it.
No worries. Thanks, Phil.
Okay, thank you, James. I'm looking, I hope I got this right, 31 Allen Street, 52 South Front Street, and 226, I believe, Union Street. Is there anyone I missed? Terrific. Thanks so much for paying attention to that. I see somebody has their hand up, or am I confused? Oh. Is there someone with their hand up who needed to say something?
Yes, hi. My name is Hannah Ferguson with Sun Common, and I'm representing 323 Union Street. And I believe we're supposed to be on the agenda for this meeting.
Oh, was that a solar?
Yes, that's correct.
You're now on the agenda. Thank you so much for pointing that out.
Thank you.
No problem. So we're first going to address, the commission is going to address, having heard the public comment, and I'm sure benefited from the public comment, to go back to the review of 9 Rossman Avenue. And that is for the commission at this point. Ladies and gents, thoughts, comments going forward? Do you want a chance to think about what we discussed last time in terms, well, some of the issues raised? Do you want me to go through the minutes? What would be helpful, or are you guys prepared to talk about 9 Rossman? Anyone up?
Are you asking the commissioners?
Yes.
Oh, I'm glad to speak. I thought that the public hearing was very helpful. It was great to hear from the neighbors and other advocates for preservation. I believe if were I to cast the deciding vote, I would still vote for the door to remain where it is. Although I feel that the elevator and the rear, as we discussed last time, are reasonable and appropriate modifications to the building.
Thanks so much, John. Katie, I think you had called me some questions about the previous meeting. It was my understanding, or my misunderstanding, that the moving of the door did indeed impact to a degree on accessibility in terms of the family having a place to pull away from the entrance and put on boots, do whatever's necessary. Or did I misread that?
No, that's what we talked about, but also I did try to state that there is a window seat in that left former library, which is now the entrance from the elevator, and could be the entrance from the front porch, and making that an area where you could easily come in. Orit and Yaniv can still use the front entrance now and you can bring things in, and right now where the door is, there is no place to sit down or to hang anything up. It's really just a tight entrance. And so the idea that we're shifting the house with this addition and being able to use that more functionally, and also it does align with the stair, so it creates that sort of entry hall experience.
Thanks, Katie. Can I ask you another question or two?
Mhm.
We had talked in the previous meeting about clad windows, wood windows, and so on. The commission did ask you to consider a high-end wood window. How did that work out in your deliberation?
Right. Well, we had originally proposed putting 1/1, no divisions, because the house is sort of mostly 1/1. So we were sort of going with that. And then the commission last time suggested that there are a few of the 2/1s in the dormers. And we agreed that even though they're not all that now, they probably were at one point. So we have, and I neglected, sorry, to mention that we did change that in this presentation to reflect being perfectly fine with putting the 2/1s in the top floor. I don't know if there's any evidence whether they were also on the first floor, But, you know, we're open to hearing about that. And in terms of the clad or wood window, I think that our clients are willing to consider it if that's a very important feature.
Okay. Terrific. Commissioners, Chip, anything that that we're missing or needs clarification?
I agree with John's assessment. I think that actually, I think the stair and the elevator addition that's on the side is nicely done, and it is certainly secondary, a distant secondary architectural form to the building. So I think that works fine and well, and it accommodates the needs of the applicant. I do think that the rear addition is just not quite as successful as the architectural work that's been done on the elevator stair. As I mentioned in the last meeting, the placement of the windows does not seem to have the kind of care and attention to proportion that the rest of the building has. But I also recognize that it's not terribly visible from the street and doesn't have nearly the visual impact of the main section of the building on the street. I did have the opportunity to go by the house and see the street. Really, of course, is, as we all know, quite lovely. The building that is, I think it's just further up the street. I'm not sure how many doors it's further up the street. Appears to be undergoing a really handsome restoration, while it has a very modern addition to the rear. And I think that that illustrates the kind of successful modifications and updating and compatibility with restoration that is very attractive. I was a little taken aback and did not know from the previous application that the gambrel roof has been covered with aluminum siding, and that shingle, what would have been a wood shingled gambrel roof, and the dormers and I think the gable end of the gambrel roof has also been covered with aluminum siding, which is a terribly unfortunate thing. Obviously, the applicant is not addressing that in this issue or in this application, but I just thought I'd point it out to the commission that the care and attention that's given to the addition, to the proposed addition, it's not clear on the drawings. Are you proposing to use wood shingles on the what are the materials that you're proposing for the new exterior of the new stair elevator entry addition? I couldn't quite see that in your drawings.
Right, it would be cedar shingles, and everything on that addition would be to, like, we're even taking the molding, and there are details, horizontal details that we would be taking off the existing building and running around the addition. So we are copying the head casings, which are more elaborate on the first floor than the second floor. So we're doing the first, we're doing them like whatever's on that floor, we're going to do on our addition, and we're using the same materials.
So, but you're leaving in place the aluminum siding that's currently on the mansard, or not mansard, gambrel roof?
Let me look.
Know that you got.
Well, our intention was to just leave the existing house as it was and build our addition next to it using the cedar shingles that that are on this, that are currently on the house. Yeah, but we could, I mean, we can talk about that if we want to change the existing siding that's there to something else. I don't know that that would
Yeah,
be.
well,
too big
I
of an issue.
understand it's not part of the application. If you're leaving it in place, you're leaving it in place. It's not part of the application. It's just part of the entire level of work that's being done on the house, and what, in a holistic way, what is being, if you don't, what is being attended to and what is not being attended to, if you will.
Mhm.
One of the things that it really did impress me upon seeing the house and looking at it and thinking about relocating the door, the front door, and I certainly understand your plan, the motivation in the plan for changing the door. I completely get that, and the arrangement of the interior spaces is understandable. Unfortunately, not unfortunately, one of the characteristics of the street is that the front doors of pretty much all of the houses on the street really fully address the street in a straight on, direct and welcoming way. And so I just think that the commission needs, I'm interested to hear what other commission members are thinking about it. John has shared his opinions about it. Those are mine. Just in conclusion, I'd love to see a more careful restoration of the existing building. I think that the wood window replacement should definitely be wood and not aluminum. And I'd just like to see a more careful application to other parts of the building. Thank you.
I guess it's my turn. I find this a very careful restoration. I really appreciate the effort that's been put in to break up the chunk of the new addition. I think the use of cedar shingles is very compatible with the period of the house. It will be really attractive. I actually am not troubled by the rear of the building. I think it will, especially because the new addition is underneath the existing porch, which is, at least from the photographs, kind of an awkward construction the way it is now. I think that the fact that it's not very visible from the street, I feel very comfortable with the rear of the house. I, like Chip, I think the wood windows are really an important issue because they keep the solid structure of that late 19th century. And I also think the 2/1 windows on the second floor, we discussed this at some length last week, and it does appear it's not uncommon to have 2/1 in the dormers and 1/1 on the ground floor. And I think that would be appropriate. The issue that I'm really struggling with is the door. And I understand both sides of this argument. I think it's clear that from a strictly architectural use of space point of view, moving the door makes all kinds of sense. But it does disrupt the symmetry of the facade, which has that kind of center door. And I guess my preference would be is if you could find a way of reworking the space inside so that you didn't have to move the door, I think that would be preferable.
No.
Bill, you're on mute.
You're on
Bill,
mute.
you're on mute.
Can't hear you.
How about now?
Yeah, we can hear you, Phil.
Terrific. Other folks want to speak? Jeremy, thoughts?
Yeah, I feel very similar to the other commissioners. I do think a lot of thought has gone into the design, and that is evident. And I do not have an issue with the back, especially since it's not as prominent. Even as you're coming up, you're not seeing the back as much as some have thought. I agree. The 2 points that I think we should push for are the windows and the front door remaining where it is. I agree. The symmetry is key to the design. I'd love to see maybe some other options, and hopefully you can find another creative solution that will work with the new flow on the interior.
Thanks very much, Jeremy. Hugh?
I think we've said it all. I agree with Jeremy. I think the key points are the door and the windows.
Okay.
I think we can move forward with all that's been said.
I think that I'm going to try to summarize where we are and see if we can vote and see where the commission stands. It's my understanding, Katie, that as we indicated a pretty strong feeling about wood, that you and the owners would agree to that on the windows.
I'm getting a nod, yes.
Done. So that's not an issue. Let's go to the door and the flow. I'm hyper conscious since I become both clumsy and unaware in my ripening old age of the value of having a safe space when you come into a room where you can put yourself down and stuff down. No one could debate that as enormously valuable. Do you see another solution to the door in order to maintain the flow you need? Or, well, one of the things we can do is that we've agreed on the windows is just go ahead and take a vote on the application. I am not personally troubled by the relocation of the door. My view is that it's not as symmetrical as it was, but you all know that I'm a little bit more laissez-faire than some of my colleagues. And the standard in my mind is always, is it appropriate? So many of the things that you're doing with that house are just terrific and an improvement. I believe that, to me, the preponderance of evidence says that this solution in the specifics and holistically meets the test of appropriateness. And I know other folks won't agree, but I felt an obligation to speak out. Shall we go forward to a vote, folks, and see where we're at?
May I just jump in for 1 second?
Yes.
Orit and Yaniv asked me originally whether I would consider proposing to you if would it be okay to leave the door where it is, but put a secondary door, which was much quieter, not as ornate. It would just be a simple door in the location that we were proposing so that they could use that door. But it would maintain the visual impact that the project has now, the building has now. And my response was that moving the door seemed more appropriate to me than having two doors. So, but I want to put it before you to see what you think, because maybe the board feels that's preferable because it would keep the symmetry. What people are talking about is the look of and location of the doors as you go down the street. So I would like to hear what people think about that idea.
Great idea.
Just
Great idea.
what's the idea? Put another door next to the door? I'm not tracking this.
Sideways into the elevator addition.
Katie, could you go to the
It would be on the
elevation?
addition around the corner?
It would be,
Where they're talking about
It
moving.
would be in the
door
place
down.
where they want to put the new door, but it would be a quieter, simpler door. So you'd
yeah.
leave the front door, probably wouldn't be used that much. And then there would be the new door that would be less ornate,
Like a window.
like a window. And you would probably use that door more often, but it would be less architecturally noticeable.
So like a 90-degree swing, right? You have the one facing,
It would
I'll
be
let-
this, it would be in plan, it would be the same as what we're proposing to do.
Yeah.
To put, let me go to, where did I have that? I was showing the plan here. We would leave the door that is currently the front door, but put a secondary door in to the left as this plan shows, but it wouldn't be ornate. We would leave everything intact the way it is there. There would just be a secondary door going in to the new entry hall, which they could use.
Can you
as
go
we-
to that page of the plan, Katie? We're on the photos of the, if you could go to the elevation that shows where you. have-
Oh, I thought I was showing that.
Oh, that's funny.
Are you seeing this? The plan
Yes.
of, yes. So the front door would remain where it is, which is, on, centered on the staircase going up. But we would add a door then to the side that would have a function. But it would be, it would still look like a door because it is a door, but it would be very simple. It wouldn't have the ornate character of, for example, this door. Are you seeing that?
Yes.
yes.
This is the current door, yeah. So the door that I'm talking about would be more or less where the mailbox is right now.
Mhm.
The benefit of this concept of doing a secondary door that is not, doesn't have the architectural significance of the front door is it, excuse me, it maintains the architectural integrity of the front door and the symmetry of the facade. And the secondary door is clearly secondary, a recognizable minor alteration that could be removed in the future or edited in the future. And so I think there's certainly some merit to that. It's not uncommon throughout the Hudson for there to be a secondary door that might have gone into a professional office that was in the home or, required some other functional need after the original construction. So I think there's certainly merit to that, certainly merit to the concept.
I think I would propose detailing it similar to the window. If you see this white window to the right,
Yes,
that it would look more like
Yeah.
that with a door in it. And-
exactly. Almost as if it were previously a double hung window that was converted to a door.
Yeah,
I find this to be a good solution for all the reasons Chip says. And I agree that it is reversible if a subsequent owner wanted to do it.
Well, and it
Very-
also
very
makes
good.
more sense of the addition. I think it's an excellent solution.
once again, Orit, whose father was an architect, comes up with the best idea.
Well, this one was actually, I should attribute somebody else to Sharon Javna when we had discussions of this, and we had discussions of what would be a solution if this would be a problem. That was her solution. So thank you, Sharon.
Thanks very much. I think that was a super discussion and a very creative solution. I'd like to move forward. We've got a real full agenda today.
Bill, quick question.
Please.
This is Craig with City Code. that alteration on that design, are you gonna require that to come back, or is that something, because I need a detail of that for the plan.
Understood. So what, the way I was thinking of doing it, Craig, if you're comfortable with that, is that we go ahead and vote on this, and the applicant will give us a detail and give you a detail as a contingency.
Sounds good.
Good. Thanks very much. A good point. Ladies and gents, may I have a motion to find the application? Who's echoing, dudes? Is it me?
Yes.
How the hell did I do that? I'm gonna terminate myself momentarily for
No,
echoing.
don't do it.
No,
Don't do
you're
it,
all
Phil.
right.
You're a
It's
young
not
man.
bad.
I have a motion to find the application complete, recognizing that there's a contingency which we're going to address in the C of A.
Motion.
Hugh, thank you. In a second, please. Chip? Done.
Yes.
All in favor?
I,
Opposed? None. May I have a motion to request a waive a public hearing, forgive me, and request, we had a public hearing, keep on doing that. We do not have to waive a public hearing. We had a public hearing to request the city attorney to prepare a C of A. And we will note in that C of A that when we vote on it, we will need to have in hand the specs on the secondary door. Is there a motion? Hugh, thank you. And a second, please. Miranda, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none, approved. You're on, guys.
Thank you very much. And it
Thank
was a
you
very process for us, stressful but interesting.
We appreciate this concern. We completely appreciate the desire to preserve the look and feel and the whole experience this has. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your
Thank you very much.
cooperation.
And thank you to our friends,
And neighbors.
neighbors. They are our friends now.
Okay.
All of that. Thank you all. Next up, and I believe it's the same applicant. These folks had had some difficulty connecting before. I'd really like to move them forward if they are connected. Or no, this is a different one. This is folks where we had some issues with some detail. 29.5 Union Street and 15 South 6. Is the applicant here to represent both of those projects? Not so much. Okay. Moving forward, let's go to Hudson Connects. James, are you good?
Yes, I'm good. Sorry, I'd actually just taken my AirPods and disconnected them so I could save the battery. So just reconnecting.
No problem. And again,
okay.
I'm sorry we missed you in the last meeting, but go forward.
No,
Thank
that's
you.
okay. No worries. I'll share my screen. Okay. All right. So thanks again for getting us on the agenda. We're excited to be able to share with you, how we've progressed since the last time we've presented. And basically, we received some offline feedback, and it was really, you could kind of boil it all down, a lot of it into a similar sort of bucket of, simplifying the materials, not to distract from the architecture, and maybe seeing how we could work with the palette that was established at Promenade Hill Park, since there is a close adjacency to parts of the streetscape project. So we've done that, and I'll walk you through that. There was another comment that was a little bit more of a mixed response, which was to the bump outs. There was some who felt that it was fine, and I think others who had some concerns over that. So that was mixed. But let me get into this, and some of this I'll go through it quickly since you've already seen it before. If you want, for whatever reason, just stop me if you want me to spend a little bit more time. But basically, as an update, we presented to you on August 13th. We had a public meeting shortly thereafter on the 22nd of September. Then we have continued to progress the drawings. We submitted a schematic design submission to the city on January 12th. And that schematic design submission, just to be clear, is really more engineering focused than sort of materials and furnishings and that kind of thing. It's just more about alignments and, you know, where the work is taking place, that kind of thing. We also submitted to SHPO and received a letter of no adverse impact on January 24th. We had a site walk to confirm the schematic design with some of the folks from the city. And then today, obviously, we're back again to present to you all. Just to reiterate the scope, the sort of boundary that we have, which is essentially 2nd Street on the east to the river on the west, you know, down to about the Basilica at the south end, and at the north end is Dock Street. So that's roughly the boundaries of the area that we have, that was outlined in the grant. And just quickly, you know, some of the key findings, again, I just want to just reiterate some of this, but there were gaps in what we're saying, the pedestrian network, sidewalk gaps, basically areas where there's no sidewalk. All of the intersections are inaccessible. Some of the streets, the way they're designed, really encourage high speeds from cars where they should be, you know, slower in neighborhoods. You have a lot of kids and people walking around. Cycling conditions could be better, and the waterfront being disconnected. These were some of the key findings that we had discovered as we talked to the community and looked at the area. So from that, we came up with these 3 goals. Goal number 1 was making the streets safe and accessible for everyone. The second goal was being able to reconnect the waterfront. And the third goal was to celebrate the historic integrity of the city of Hudson. And I think that obviously is important to all of you and important to us as well. I'm just going to skip some of this. I want to go right to design references. So after we met, we went back and we spoke with a few different folks, some on this commission, others from the Conservation Advisory Council, just to really get an idea of what the thoughts were on simplifying the materials and you know, what that streetscape should look like. So these are just some references that we thought would be helpful from Hudson, from New York City, from different places. And again, the streetscape, we want to make it a ground plane that supports the historic fabric. It doesn't detract from it. So the materials need to be authentic and reflect that history. But there's some challenges to that you know, we recognize that we want to you know, bring to your attention, and that is that the improvements are limited to a lot of corners. So it's not, you know, doing whole stretches. And there's already an existing patchwork of materials. So we don't want to create more patchwork as we come in and, you know, have improvements that, you know, touch only, say, the intersections or certain stretches of the road. And then obviously we have budgetary constraints. We have X amount of dollars. So within that budget, we're trying to stretch it to cover a greater area than focus it and spend a lot of money in one area. Because again, that primary goal being to make the streets and the intersections accessible to everybody. So again, we showed this image. You know, you obviously see the great architecture. This happens to be Warren Street. This is Allen Street down in the lower left. And then some of the materials that we see out there, this sort of bluestone sidewalk. This is some of these pictures again are courtesy of that we received after having a conversation with some of you. And this is a picture of Warren and 3rd. I'm not sure what year it's from, but you can kind of see some of those historic materials, larger stone pavers that were on the sidewalks, granite curbs. Another shot, again, you can see the stone in the street. You can see the simple materials, but high quality materials. And that's something that we're very keen on. We don't like to use faux materials. We think that it feels a little more, and I think somebody on this commission said sort of Disney, and we agree with that. And then also real materials last longer. Again, another shot of what this is Warren Street, I believe. So those were just some historic photos that were shared with us that we thought were valuable to just re-share as we go through this. This was shared to us from, actually, I think it was Britt that shared this with me, but what she pointed out in this photo that she liked, and I think she had come on here and presented to you all, was the cobbles at the edge like this, these granite cobbles, the sort of variation in color that was there. It wasn't one sort of color. There's a bit of a texture there. Also the plantings, the granite curbs, and again that sort of granite set highlight. So from this, it's placement of those materials. It's making sure that they're in the right place, they're used properly, and I'll share with you how we envision that. But just a couple more historic references from New York City. This is Stone Street in New York, and again you see simple cobblestone street, the pavers on the sidewalks, the granite curbs. You can see that in this photo a little bit better. Other areas, this is State Street, just tinted concrete with some granite highlights. A regular corner, this is Lafayette Avenue in Brooklyn. This is where they use tinted concrete. And again, this is something that we have a very similar condition where there's pieces and portions of sidewalk being replaced at different times. So there's there is a patchwork that gets put out there. So we're trying to deal with that the best that we can. Okay, so this is where I think there was a lot of we wanted to have a lot more discussion, and we've had it over the course of these past several months, and we want to look at the materials and the furniture palette with you all. So we simplified this down to just areas that would be highlighted with granite sets, with cobblestone here in the upper left. Standard concrete, and this is very much what's being poured out there in recent sidewalk projects. Simple saw cut lines. Granite curbs really on Warren Street and Front Street. We are redoing curbs in other locations, but from a budgetary standpoint, it's prohibitive to do granite curbing everywhere. So we're trying to pick the spots that we do them. So Warren Street at those intersections and on Front Street. Tinted concrete on Warren Street as well at those corners that were at the intersections. And then in the area adjacent to Promenade Hill Park, pulling out the limestone pavers that are being used in the park along the sidewalk edge. And I'll show you exactly where that is in a couple minutes. Along Front Street, what we want to do is we want to take the bench that has been proposed and used for Promenade Hill Park and pull that out along Front Street, where we're going to have this promenade for people who are walking, biking, that kind of thing. So where there's areas to sit, we want to use that same bench and sort of bring that vocabulary out. We also will be adding some lighting, pedestrian scale lighting on Front Street, and we're going to use, we're proposing the same fixture that is being used on Warren Street, and it's also in the park as well, that entrance to Promenade Hill Park. So this is where I think there's a difference, and when I go to this next slide to the rest of the streetscape and the furniture, I think this is perfect for Front Street and having that direct connection to Promenade Hill Park. For the other areas of the streetscape, streets get a different level of use than parks do. And unfortunately, that level of use is more abuse, right? They have to really withstand a lot more. So for us, when we're selecting furniture, we really have that in mind, knowing the manufacturer, knowing the different products, we want to make sure that they're going to withstand the kind of level of abuse that they're going to take. So what we're proposing, again, is the light fixture on Warren Street. There's a at Warren Street and Front Street, there's an area where we're going to need to use bollards, and we're looking at just a very simple bollard that matches well with the light fixture. Where appropriate, we may be using tree pit guards, and again, using that sort of same historic vocabulary that goes with the light fixtures. But then in the furniture, where we show it, we're deviating from that historic aspect to something that's a little bit more now, I don't want to call it contemporary, but it's a little bit of a deviation And the reason for that is because we've also had several people tell us, you know, Hudson is a place where there's artists, there's creatives, and we want that also to be expressed in the design. So what we thought is that we can, in selective places where the bike racks and benches are going to go, we can use something that's a little bit more contemporary. With that, there's also a desire to have some local artists create bike racks, design a bike rack, design a bench, manufacture it, and have that displayed out on the street. Those are areas that we're working with the city to what do you call it? Give them a space. It's most likely going to be down towards the park along Front Street, maybe near the on this side of the park entrance. And I'll show you that. So the reason for the bench selection is we're really looking to have flexibility in the type of bench depending on where we place it. So not every place is great to have a back. There may be places where you want to be able to sit on both sides. So you can look out towards the street or you can look in towards the sidewalk. There may be places where you want more of just a cube bench, which the cube bench allows people to sit, but it's not something that's going to attract people to stay for long periods of time, where you want turnover of individuals, so they can get off their feet, but you know they're going to move on. It's not that comfortable of a place. And then the trash receptacle. So this was one direction that we had come up with. Another direction that we come up with, which is sort of a secondary option, is basically changing up the three pieces of furniture: the trash receptacle, the bike rack, and the benches. So this goes a little bit more towards a more of a traditional kind of palette. The bench is based on a traditional style, but it's you know, modernized a little bit. The bike rack is just a very simple hoop. And then the trash receptacle is just much more of a classic form. You know, the one thing I would say about this trash receptacle versus the other is, depending on the desire, and we've spoken with the Public Works Department, you know, open tops like this, they are smaller, so you can't just put big bags of trash in there. You know, if you're you know, a resident, this isn't really where you should be putting your trash. But because it's open like that, rain does get in there, so sometimes it gets a little bit messier for the Department of Public Works to empty it. But it is something that we've already spoken with them about and would be fine. So I'll keep going, and then I guess at the end I can easily go back to any point and you know, open it up for any kind of comment. So looking at how all of this is going to be applied, we broke this down into different areas. So the first is residential intersections. So these are Allen Street, Union Street, Columbia Street, and State Street. And you can see on the map, these are the areas that we're talking about, those intersections and those stretches of road. We're looking at really only doing infill on sidewalks on Allen Street, Union, and Columbia as necessary. If there's broken, disrepair sidewalks, we're going to look to replace them. If there are gaps where no sidewalk exists, we're going to infill and put sidewalks in there. It is really only State Street that we're really adding a whole brand new sidewalk, and we'll review that. So, as an example of a typical intersection, this is 2nd and State Street. So this is what it looks like today, and this is just, you know, a rendering of what we're proposing to do, and that's basically to replace the corners. We are bumping out on some of the sides of the corner. So here is a bump out to align with the other side of the street. Simple ADA curb ramps with a darker gray tactile paver, and just simple score lines following basically what's out there. What's typically what we've spotted on the sidewalks is basically a 4x4 score pattern. The reason for score lines, just in case you're not familiar, is concrete is going to crack. And so by putting in the score lines, we're trying to dictate where that concrete cracks. So we've greatly simplified this intersection, still having the high visibility crosswalks with the thermoplastic, And we understand that there was some commentary on the the striping. We felt like it's really an important aspect of this to make sure that these crossings are very visible, but also within the city's ability to maintain. And so while this is maybe one step up from the sort of simple 2 stripes that go, those 2 stripes typically aren't very effective for safety, for cars being able to see them. And this is where we're kind of landing with that. So again, concrete curbs here, concrete sidewalk, and then a highlight of granite sets where we can. Okay, so that is very typical for what we're doing at those intersections. Then Warren Street is different, right? And Warren Street, within the project, we're focusing on the intersections. So not the length of sidewalk in between. We are focusing on making those intersections ADA accessible. And so we're looking at 2nd and Warren, 1st and Warren, and Front and Warren. So I'll walk you through all 3 of those intersections. At 2nd Street, this is what it looks like today. What we're proposing is ADA accessible ramps at each corner, bumping out the intersection, those corners, modest bump outs. So 6 foot is what is the max that we're bumping out. And the reason for that is it brings people closer to the edge here so that they have less distance to walk. It makes them more visible. They're not standing behind a parked car. You get then the opportunity for some landscape. You get the opportunity for restaurants to take advantage of outdoor dining. And in particular, this corner is already a tight corner with the ramp and the stairs going into this building. There's also a couple other fixed objects there. This will give that corner a little more space to breathe. So from an accessibility standpoint, it's a lot better than what's out there now. There's a lot of constrictions and constraints at that particular corner. And then at the in between the ramps, where we would discourage people from walking, we have just granite sets. So it's more of a highlight. So it deviates from the corner treatment itself. Which we're proposing as just tinted concrete in a sort of a traditional flag pattern, which mimics the pavers that used to be there, but just doing them in concrete with simple score lines. So this is 2nd and Warren. I'm going to flip over to 1st and Warren. So this is what 1st and Warren looks like now. And again, similar what we're talking about doing, which is the high visibility crosswalks, the tinted concrete in a flag pattern to mimic the pavers that were on Warren Street at one point, and then bringing in those granite sets to try and basically create a transition between the different patchwork of materials that are there, instead of having the concrete just butt right up against old concrete. And then just moving through, I'm going to go to Front and Warren. So Front and Warren, obviously the park is being updated, and we'll talk about how that works together. So at Front and Warren, basically again, tinted concrete in this flag pattern, some granite sets at the sides of Warren here where there would be bollards. And the reason for the bollards is we're proposing that this intersection is raised, so it's actually at the elevation of the sidewalk. Again, that's to really prioritize pedestrians. We know that this is a point where a lot of people come and go to the park to see the sunsets and that kind of thing. And we want to make sure that that's prioritized for pedestrians. We're proposing a 3-way stop. So at all points, cars have to stop before navigating through the intersection. We're pulling in the Warren Street light fixtures again into this intersection as they are in the park, and then up and down Front Street. This side, the paving material that we're looking at is the limestone pavers that are being used in Promenade Hill Park. So carrying that same material out here to really make this feel like an extension of the park, and in essence, kind of take this intersection and really pull the park together. And again, that's the reason for using some of these boulders here, because the grade is at the same level as the sidewalk. That's why we need the bollards. That's why we're proposing some boulders here. There are boulders in the park that they're using, and so we're pulling that out here as as an aesthetic connection, but two, this also helps, in terms of the grade being flushed, and cars and things like that, you would want bollards, so we're using boulders. And then this is you could see this is where an area where we have back benches. We have some of those cube benches, for people outside of the store here. This is an area that the city has said may be where the local artist installation of furniture and bike racks goes as an option, just because it's such a key spot in the city. Okay, so that's basically the updates that we wanted to present to you. I know I probably went fairly quick, but I'm happy to go back and answer any questions. If you have any particular thoughts on anything, that I can flip back to whichever slides you would like me to go to.
I'm glad to open. I want to say that I think you guys have incorporated a lot of really excellent feedback. I think it looks for the most part really excellent, and as I felt from the beginning, it's so exciting to imagine Hudson having this sort of uplift to so many of our important trafficked public spaces. I just have two comments, or maybe there's questions. This bench that's here on this slide and that we saw.
Yes. I
understand they have to be durable. I understand that they have to be, that they're going to be well trafficked down here. And I hope that's the case. I hope this does fulfill the city's vision of having a lot of use. But is this the only choice for bench? Because I feel like this has been in the presentation since the beginning. And the New York City Park bench you showed is so much better. Not only that, but New York City has other benches that's not those traditional park green benches, but they have other ones that are, even modern looking stainless steel ones that are in the city. Like, they're so much better than this. And I suspect that if it can withstand the streets or parts of New York, it could thrive in Hudson.
Yeah, so I'll give my 2 cents to that. One of the reasons for this particular, that's driving this particular selection, is looking for the flexibility to have these 3 types of benches, because there are some places where people have expressed to us they don't want a bench. So this bench in particular, with a back is that much more comfortable. That serves a purpose in certain areas, whereas in other areas people don't want something so comfortable. They want you to be able to sit, and rest for a couple of minutes, but not stay for a long time. That's the reason for trying to have, this particular this particular bench. That's why we were showing it.
This is the only choice where we can get a backless and a backed bench.
It's not the only one.
Only things
if
that are
I showed you the
available.
other ones, you might not like those as much. But
even
John,
even a Google search, James, for even a Google search for New York City benches, they have the New York City Department of Public Works has a page that shows you the various benches that are usable, and that's my comment. Then I just want to make another comment. I mean, I just would love. I think the problem is this is the only choice we've ever seen on benches, and everything else is phenomenal. This pit guard, the bike rack, the baller, the light fixture, this trash receptacle I prefer, but either is such a huge upgrade that the city is going to be showered in greatness. Perhaps is overstated, but we're going to be. It's such an uplift that it's going to be so dramatic the bench just continues to sort of
Doesn't
stick
do it
like
for
a
you.
thorn.
Right.
I suspect it's not just me, but we'll see when I stop talking.
Yeah.
Eventually. The second thing, James, is the boulder scape down. If you could go back to the intersection. I get that you're trying to tie it back to the park, which I think is great. But to me, this isn't the park. This is the street. And I understand that we also would like to have something there to prevent people, but by all means. But there's so many more classic ways to handle this than boulders that I wonder if, and I felt like if these boulders appeared in previous iterations, I don't recall them, and I'm sorry, I apologize. But I just wonder, I would want to hear what the rest of the commission or even the public has to say about the boulders, and if there were alternatives, and if they're not, then I would love to see a place in a municipal environment where boulders have been used as barriers and what that kind of looks like. Because to me, although this is a nice rendering, to me, it just seems a little airsats, for lack of a better word. And then
Sure.
Stop talking.
So just real quick, just to hit those two, because again, I want to make sure that we're happy and we're open to discuss these things. So I know that that you've stuck on the bench, and that's totally fine. I'm not dying on this bench for Hudson, so don't feel that I am. I'm happy to go through a ton of bench selections, and we could figure that out. But for the bench, I will say it is definitely important to us that we've used, years ago there was a bench that we used in Newark, and I was upset with how quickly it didn't hold up. And so I have a very good idea on benches and as we've gone over the years, which ones are going to last. So we'll look at those New York City ones. We'll talk about those. We were trying to bring in wood because we felt like that was a nice, to bring in as a material, as just to sort of
I think actually
texture-wise and
just
that kind of thing.
this stained cedar color wood looks like a Home Depot end of season sale, and I recommend against it. Like if you're going to bring in wood, I'd bring in painted wood that you paint with oil, like New York City benches.
That's what this is.
Metal. All right.
This is
painted.
That's a rendering. That is like a hardwood. So it's not. We do not ever do like that recycled plastic stuff. We've never specified that, and I don't think we ever will. And just so we never. I mean, if a client asked us that, I probably still wouldn't do it.
James, I just have to say, like, I feel, and I feel like you and I talk about this bench a lot, but I wonder if there's a way that we could just see some other choices, any other choice besides this bench, and then maybe this bench won't look so bad. Show us something even uglier or something. We really want this bench, and then we can do that. But also, do let us see what other urban environments have done. I actually feel much, believe it or not, you wouldn't know, I feel much less passionate about the bench than say the boulders, because the benches are for now and the boulders are forever until somebody gets another grant in 100 years to change this intersection.
Right.
So,
sure.
But I'd love to see other choices of benches rather than this one that you find durable, because of course I respect your professional opinion on whether they'll last.
Right. So we'll definitely do that. We'll work maybe offline somehow with bench options, and we can go back and forth. The boulders, again, this is another one that we're not married to. We just felt like it was a nice idea to kind of bringing that park down, because the park entrance really does actually come right at this sidewalk. It actually comes into it a little bit. But I would be happy, we could totally take the bollards and just, strategically place those in here. We could carry those across the street. We've done this in other places where we've actually done, and I have to show you this, they're granite, almost like granite stones that are a little bit more like rectilinear. So it's, 18 inches high. It's say it's a little bit longer. They could go in there, like they're pieces of granite that could go in there that could also act as a barrier that look nice.
The bollards look really good too. The ones you have here look fantastic. Like, what's wrong with those? And the other thing is,
we could go with that for sure.
I mean, they just look great. And I mean, I'm one voice. I hope my fellow commissioners will express their opinion. But this is a super important place, super prominent. It looks a little bit like we just didn't cart the boulders away after the park renovation. And I think we want it to look finished.
Right. Yeah, no, that's, I'm fine with that.
And I
I'd be
hope you
happy
won't
if everyone
mistake. I hope
agreed
you
with
won't
me,
mistake
John.
my
It's easy.
glib tone for a lack of respect for your design. I think you guys are doing a great thing for our city.
John, not at all. Not at all.
Dude,
John, thank you for those kind words. James, thank you. Really, this is a terrific project, and it's so excellent and will be such a great asset for the community. And I, just to the issue of bollards versus the stone, I get the comments about the stone and the boulders. Bollards seem to me to be more sort of vehicular based rather than pedestrian based. And I love the idea of bringing, I know they're using boulders in the design of the park, right? Or in
Yeah.
different ways. I love the idea of bringing the park out onto the other side of Front Street. I like bringing the materials out, and I think it's a terrific idea to do a three-way stop here. I think it's a terrific idea to do the raised road, because I think that's going to be really calming of the traffic. Relative to the benches, I think one thing to get that you might get past with your concept about the benches is I understand the desirability to have the variety of 3 different types: the backless bench, the stool, if you will, and the back bench. And I think it's desirable to have that, but they don't all have to match. You know, they don't have to be all of the same design. There could be a stool that's completely different than the back bench. I agree with John's sentimentality about the use of the New York City bench, the green bench with the black cast iron legs. Is not the park using that bench that they picked up from some early photographs?
This is what
Yeah.
they're using in the park. Yeah.
Yes,
That's a great bench.
yes.
Great.
That's a
Great
terrific bench.
Everyone likes that bench.
And I think that I understand your desire for more durability. I think that's an issue, of course. On the other hand, you know, all benches are going to wear, and all benches are going to need to be maintained and replaced from time to time. If this green bench needs to be replaced every 5 years, while the other bench that might be proposed lasts for 7 years, kind of what's the diff? I mean, it'd be nice to have the more attractive bench. I do want to just say one more thing about uniformity, just generally. I love the diverse palette. I like that we have different intersections being treated in different ways, that there's variety, even though there's continuity. And not all the benches need to be the same. And not every approach to every intersection needs to be exactly the same. We like continuity, but we also like variety. There's a terrific bench on Warren Street that is at the Phantom Gardener. It's a big slab of granite on granite posts, granite legs. It's a fantastic bench. It's beautiful. And that kind of thing might work where the boulders are, because it could be both a vehicular barrier as well as a bench, a seat where people could sit. So I think there's I agree that the boulders, I love the idea of the boulders coming out of the park, but I don't think it should be all boulders. You know, I think we need this variety. So anyway, first and foremost, James, bravo, great job. All of the concepts that you're working with are terrific. And the bump outs for the sidewalk, I know that's been some discussion about that. I wanted to mention that for people that are still nervous about the bump outs, go to Tivoli and go to the intersection of where the corner restaurant is and Santa Fe is, there are bump outs in Tivoli for those sidewalks. They perfectly natural. They belong there. There's also a small bump out in Germantown, across the street or in between Autos and Gaskins. And they're very, very useful. They're super safe for pedestrians. They're really calming of the traffic, and they're really a perfect solution for improving Hudson streets too. So thank you.
Thank you. Can I just ask you guys a question while we're discussing the boulders? I'm just going to flash these up here. I think you can see this. Do you see the picture on my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So these were just some that Star White House had sent me, some of the images. These were the boulders. So this is what we were thinking. But whoops, you're not interested in that. Here's what I wanted to show you. So they also have, though, these kind of bigger blocks of stone, this kind of thing, which I think is getting closer to what you were referring to, Chip, where those could go down there. You could sit on them. They're a little more, not just like a boulder, like a regular, like it fell out and was left from a construction site. So, John, I saw you do a thumbs up. Is that?
No, this would work. I think this would be great. Something more, just not so irregular and not so rough.
A little more structured.
Right? Yeah.
Well, and this also has the benefit of being something you can sit on, which I think is great. I love Chip's reference to that stone bench at Secret Gardener. It looks very rustic. It looks like a piece of stone that was just set there. So it has this feeling, but it's useful also as a place to sit.
Okay, great. Yeah, because basically, in that line of thinking, you could imagine if it were placed here along this edge, you can sit on it on this side.
Right.
I'll bet it becomes a very popular spot to sit.
Yeah.
And stand.
And it would look more finished, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think that would look
Right.
great. It's a great compromise.
Good.
This is Jeremy. I mean, I don't want to cover ground we've already covered, so I agree with all of the comments from the commissioners so far. My one question, and I brought this up last time, you can go back to slide 34.
Sure.
The aggressiveness of the striping and knowing that's going to be pure white and reflective,
yeah,
just kind of hurts my soul. And I realized that we need it for the ADA compliance and we want it for visibility. Is there any way of just attenuating and bringing it down a hair? Because it's going to feel so aggressive by contrast to the buildings that are surrounding it. You're just going to see this intersection so much.
Yeah. So I definitely appreciate where you're coming from. I think a lot of your concern is probably the way that this rendering comes off.
Yeah.
It's very contrasting in this rendering, and I totally get that. This is done in tons of places that are historic, and it's not this bright screaming thing that detracts from what's going on. Actually, if you were to go, it's a little messy, but if you were to go to First and Warren Street, I don't know if you've been there lately, but the DPW striped the intersection similar to this. The reason it's a little messy because they did it right on top of the old striping, so it's a little, but it'll give you a better feel of sort of what this looks like in reality. It definitely is a little much in terms of the contrast on this rendering, so I recognize that. But I do think that your concern is valid, but I think that once it's in place, I think it should be alleviated.
Okay.
Terrific.
Street is not black. The street is gray.
Right. Yeah.
Good. James?
Yeah.
Are we good? Was that helpful? Is it?
Yeah, it's great. If you
Okay.
guys are good, if there's any more comments, I'm happy. But otherwise, I think that I think the biggest thing is just we'll work offline with you in terms of the benches. We'll come up with something.
Okay.
How
That-
about
that-
say something?
Please.
First of all, I totally agree with the benches. I really don't think that those brown benches go with Hudson. But I have a question. Why are we only doing this area? I mean, I'm sure the answer is money, but there are Warren Street intersections, our problem, not just down in the front.
Right. So, yeah, no, it's a valid one. So the grant that the city received was written for this specific area. So that's why it only covers this area. But we were in working with you all and working with the city, we were trying to recognize that in the future, as improvements occur in other places, this is sort of establishing a baseline that can then be replicated. So let's just say we treat Second and Warren in this way. We've sort of established what the materials are, the sort of basis for that. That can then happen at, 7th and Warren when that needs to be redone or so on. So that then you do start to get that feel, along all of Warren Street.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you,
Terrific
James.
job.
Excellent.
Thank you very
So
much.
glad.
Thanks. Take care.
We are chugging along, little change of pace. Why don't we do our solar roof at 323 Union? Is the applicant ready to go for the solar roof at 323 Union?
Yes, I'm ready to go.
Terrific. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you. Go ahead and share my screen.
Please.
Is the screen share coming up?
Not yet.
Okay. There we go.
Got it.
Okay. So this is the site plan for 323 Union Street, and we are proposing taking off the existing roof off of this carriage house that's actually just off of Partition Street here, and replacing it with a Tesla solar roof, so that the shingles will be solar panels themselves, and it will be consistent with the existing structure and theme of these buildings here. This is the house up here on Union Street, and you can see this long lot is the plot here, and the carriage house at the end off of Partition Street is the roof that we are talking about. These are existing photos of the lots here. You can see an aerial overview. This street down here is Partition Street. Union Street is up at the top of the photo here, and this carriage house is what we're proposing, replacing the existing shingles with solar shingles to produce solar power. This here is a view of the building from Partition Street. And the roof is up there. This is another view from Partition Street here, and this gable, both sides of the roof will be replaced with the solar shingles. Another view here from Partition Street. And these two roof surfaces will be replaced. And they will be connected to the meters further up on the property closer to Union Street. This is a photo of a project that we did last year. And this is what you can see the Tesla solar roof shingles look like. So they really are, they're very consistent. They don't pop off of the roof. They're in equal plane. And you can even see here, like this front porch of this house. These were the existing shingles, and these are the Tesla roof shingles. So they blend in quite well. And then you can see the view here from aerial view of the shingles itself.
This is awesome. That's all I'm gonna say.
All right, that's really all I have. We can go over, these are the specs of the Tesla shingles, and this is, another example of what it looks like of a whole house, and they blend really well. I think, our client, Peter Olivier, he was careful to choose these to make sure that it would fit in with the historical district.
I move to waive a public hearing and authorize the city attorney
Yes, so.
to issue a certificate of appropriate.
Second.
Bill, you're on mute, Bill, but you mean to say all in favor? Aye. Bill, you're on mute. But now you mean to say all opposed.
Phil, you're muted. You're still muted.
And
How about now?
There you go.
Hi, Phil.
Forgive me, John has made both motions simultaneously. We have, first of all, waived a public hearing. We found the application complete. I believe everyone said aye. And we just need a motion to ask the city attorney to prepare a C of A.
So moved.
So moved and second. Thank you so much. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Hannah, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Well done. Cool. Where are we heading to? We've got, next up, I believe, 31 Allen Street. Anyone here speaking for 31 Allen Street? Anyone here speaking for 52 South Front Street? Is Craig here? Craig Hager, is he gone? Not here, possibly gone. These folks have said a number of times, I believe, that they were unable to connect to the meeting. So I think this is the third that they've missed. 226 Union. Is anyone here to speak for 226 Union Street?
Yes, I'm here.
Where is he? Oh, is that Phil?
Yes.
Oh, terrific, Phil. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me.
Good to see you, and please go ahead.
All right. So I came before you last April for a certificate of appropriateness for demolition of an existing garage and construction of a new garage, and it was approved.
You got a minor change now, Phil?
I do, yeah.
Okay, go ahead
And
with
I'll
it.
share my screen to show you what that is. I believe it's this one here. Let's see. So on the east wall, I had a door coming out of the garage, a people door coming out of the garage. It was centered on the garage.
Okay. You're not sharing yet, Phil.
Yeah, no, I'm not sure why that's happening. There we go. Bear with me for a moment. I have to give permissions.
I can fill in a little. Christine, thank you for your nice note.
Do you see it now?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, sorry about that. So this was the elevation that was approved with the door centered coming out of the garage. And I'm looking to amend the certificate to move it over to the left underneath this window here. And reason for it is the door centered on the garage, with the second floor being an approved accommodation through the planning board. You can't exit through a garage to a door to get out of the building. So we got to move the door over to the bottom of the stair. So that way it becomes isolated from the garage, because there'd be a door at the inside that goes out into the garage, and then the door here that goes to the outside.
So
off the
this is a required change from planning, Phil?
No, it's a required change because of the building code.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
I see no issue with this.
The whole change?
Okay,
That's the only change.
Yeah.
John, would you like to several motions?
Yes, do all the motions. Vote for all the motions.
I'll second.
I second that.
All approved.
Could we find the application complete first?
Yes.
John, and we'll say Miranda, all in favor, aye, application is
Aye.
complete, none
Aye.
opposed. Are we going to agree to waive a public hearing and ask the city attorney to prepare a C of A? Probably will, John, and we'll say Miranda, all in favor,
Aye.
then they're none opposed. You'll have your C of A. Thank you so much, Phil.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Ladies and gents, anyone who was missed, who was supposed to be on the agenda and didn't have an opportunity to speak? I think not. Anybody want to comment on our old business of certified local government?
We still need to schedule that call with you, Phil, me and Paul. We have some next steps. So I'll send you some times when I get some from Paul.
So we can take this offline, get the work done and bring it back to the commission?
Yes, and I think what we'd like to do is have another overview of what it means, because there are big implications, and we need to understand if we're ready as a commission to invest the time, effort, and cost in some cases for management.
Okay, terrific. With that said, on this snowy and
Chair,
day,
I believe Ronald Kupnicki is raising his hand yet again. Mr.
cool.
Kupnicki, are you trying to speak?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Logan. There are a couple of items, with the chair's indulgence, I'd just like to bring up, if I may.
Sure.
Before you adjourn. Okay, this the commission may be aware of. I don't know if you are or not, but there are plans going forward under the auspices of the Friends of the Public Square, Hudson, concerning the 7th Street Park. And I think the commission has a crucial role to play in whatever happens to the park in the future, which I think, and I've stated this before the city council, should involve a restoration based on historic evidence. The park is an important site and it's located in the Warren Street Historic District. So I would like to see the commission become involved in that, as you became involved in the question of the Hudson Connects project. Back last summer, Chair Foreman and Vice Chair Schobel appeared at an arterial workshop at Hudson Hall and stated the interest of the commission in that project. And I think the commission should also be interested in the 7th Street Park project. And as you also were with Promenade Hill. So I just wanted, you may be aware of this already, but I just wanted to bring it up. And second, I have a kind of administrative question. As far as I know, no minutes of the commission have been posted on the city website since last September. And I would appreciate it if the minutes were brought up to date. Likewise, on the question of video recordings, I noticed that at the beginning of this meeting, it was stated that it was being recorded. And the video recordings, which used to show up on YouTube, as far as I know, none of them have shown up on YouTube since June or July of last year. So I'm wondering, because there's that big gap in the record in minutes and video recordings, and I would like to have that. I'd like to have the record brought up to date.
Ronald, give us a second, because I think Rebecca can respond on one or both the
Okay, thank you.
On the admin part. Thank you so much for your
Thank you.
comments. Good
Okay,
stuff.
you're
Hi,
welcome.
Ron.
Hello.
So, hi, Ron. Thank you so much for bringing it to our attention. First of all, apologies on not having the minutes up. I can get that done,
Great.
today.
Well, I mean, I want them up because your minutes are great as.
There were.
The other part about having the meeting recordings, I actually noticed that as well. We have the recording for the meeting. I think they've all just been saved to the cloud.
Okay.
So I can follow up with the mayoral aide, Michael Hoffman.
Yes, please,
make
because
sure that they're posted.
right. The other thing is, I at the one point last summer when in-person only meetings had been resumed. I know he was doing the video recordings, and I was wondering what became of them, because if they're
Yeah.
not on YouTube, I want to know where they would be.
Yeah, so I think it's actually just the way that the city has been handling Zoom meetings and how there's different people that are handling all of those meetings.
Right, right.
I think what you're speaking to is basically just having a streamlined process that makes sense for everyone, so we all have access. It makes complete sense. So I'll make sure to follow up with Michael.
Okay, thanks very much. And I again, I appreciate the work that you do, and the minutes that you do are great, and that's why I want them to be available.
Thank you, Ron.
Thanks.
Much appreciated.
If there's nothing else, or even if there is, may I have a motion to adjourn? John, thank you so much. And other folks may weigh in on that. I'll second
I'll
that.
second. Yep.
God bless you all. Thank
Thanks,
you so much.
everyone.
Really interesting meeting. Cheers.
Right.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, Phil, you still there?
Yes, I am.